enough to make renewable solutions affordable for low.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe that in terms of what we call affordability, we need to actually look at this that talk about affordability. And one thing that we need to know, right? So say we can begin with 4 kilowatts, but then like we do actually make the system in such a way that you can actually upgrade over time without necessarily as taking everything off and also redoing it again. And another thing that I have also noticed is preventive engineering. And most homeowners don't contact what I call energy professionals to do, not as in installations per se, but you need to do energy audits before you do anything to know how much you are using before you do the solar. Because as people think, because you just need the panel, you just go, they give you the price, and then you just go and buy. But then you need to actually look 2K or let's say 200,000 K or whatever amount it is. You actually need to help COEs, the MPVs, and your break-evens to know what you're actually putting money inside, so that you know that by year 4, you have actually recouped your investment into the solar. And I believe that if we look at all these things, it can help. And lastly, we do actually have this new system called the conventional roof, and also with the panels there. So you don't have to actually buy the roof and buy the panels. You just have to just do everything once. You just need to know how much, a house is actually that we are all actually talking about is most things that I have seen here in Accra is that I want a word for it. It's energy just for a single apartment, but you see, they just add everything up and they just do it against it. But then I believe we can just segregate them. So we have a single just apartment, you have the storage just for that, so that the person in charge of that particular apartment can actually just on and then just off it as and when they need, and it won't actually inconvenience anybody. Thank you very much.
Now, the issue is the affordable. You are mentioning all these things, but it's the affordable they are looking for. So those things have to be affordable. But we'll get back to you. We'll get back to you on that. Engineer Leslie, I think I have an appointment with you this Friday on Tech Connect Voices, right? And I hope that everything you talk about here will expand on it. It looks like we're using a lot of technical stuff on this panel, and the time is really short. So I think post this, Vicky, we may look at some Twitter spaces to go deeper into these things, because some of the information is critical. Now, the question I have for you, you oversee critical infrastructure like PropTech, learn from resilience and scalability principles you use in mission critical systems. So I want you to hear about the tech bit of it. I want you to hear about the automotive bit of it, so that we understand how the tech is helping to reduce.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think you've just mentioned it, the automated bit of it. So data centers, I want to believe most of us here understand what a data center is all about, right? So it is more like an ecosystem where you have actually centralized your IT or active equipment. And about 60% of data centers, the cost, right, of about 60% energy, which is the major driver profile of this very location. There is adequate sun for you to have your solar. In the advanced countries, we have geothermal, which we don't usually have here. So based on the multiple sources you have, you are able to integrate them, and then based on its availability. So let's say in the morning, from maybe morning to 4 p.m., I have solar. After 4 p.m. going, I have wind. So you are able to automate to know which one to use. So it's also more about sustainability, right? Unlike in most parts of Africa where we don't do this, which is why we pay very high for as primary. In this instance, the cost of maintenance, fuel costs, adds up. This from the modern, from the Western world, which is helping, right? Which is really helping and of course, you also ensure that you are buying very less consuming IT equipment. Those days you see Pentium 1.
Our countries on the continent, we need to do a big job. Why? Because all the structures that we are putting, whether commercial real estate, industrial real estate, agricultural real estate, we need energy to power them. And if you look at our housing deficit, which is about 1.75 to 1.8 million housing deficit, we only just build. If you go to Sagleme and all the projects that government is trying to put together, we will need sustainable energy. And 85% of this energy must be renewable energy. Now, where does policy lie and where should government act proactively? There must be a national idea or a national discussion on how we can bring policymakers together, how we can bring development partners and also investors on board and look at an alternative finance of renewable energy. The concept of the fourth industrial revolution is the one that needs where we stand as a state or where we stand as a continent.
You always talk about the future of everything. If we project forward 15 years, what does the fully prop tech integrated African urban real estate environment look like in terms of sustainability and affordability?
All right, so let me just try and paint a picture for you. So normally when we are having some of these conversations as technocrats, we refer to best practices. One of them is Dubai. So you might have heard about...
There's a lot of noise coming from what's going on.
You might have heard about Museum of the Future, you understand? And why do we even call it Museum of the Future? It is a museum that is talking about where the world will be in the next 50 years. When the world was transforming and setting up the pace, we were under colonization. And so if you look at our history, all these things tells us that we now need to have a concerted approach. Just to give you an idea, we would one day be in a system where almost everything is controlled by a software. The structural integrity of this building will sit with a centralized operating room that now determines year in, year out, cut and wear, climate is a centralized coding and managed, and facilities are managed through these coded systems programmed based on the algorithms that have been written behind the code. And so you will get to a point where robots will start managing facilities. And if you talk about property technology, that will be the hardcore, real-life property technology. So when you enter Kempinski like this, you might not necessarily maybe even see it are being proactive enough to think about what is going to happen and not being reactive. Because oftentimes we on the continent of Africa have been at the receiving end of these global shifts and changes. And so government tend to react to any occurrences that is happening. For instance, on 15th March 2024, I think the whole of Ghana, we had an internet outage. And now, what does it tell us? If you have a system that is operating on a centralized software management system, on a facility management or a structural integrity technology, everything shuts down. You cannot detect what's the building, what is going to happen in the energy. Because we must have an energy infrastructure that keeps renewing itself, and we are not ensured. Trust me, all these high-rise buildings and skyscrapers that we put in, there is get to a point in time that lives within these buildings will not be properly powered with the sustainable energy that we need, Papa.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hene. Obviously, we can't cover the different key it's going or the direction in which this is going. And trust me, I'm going to engage with each one of them beyond this to go deeper so that we can take our time and unravel each section of what they're talking about because there's a lot of information and I want to make sure that we're all following. So let me quickly follow with one round of questions for the rest of the three because of time, and then we'll take questions from the audience. Let me move to you, engineer.
The best industry codes, right, that is required, especially considering your location or your region, is very, very important so that you are able to design to best, meet the needs of your customers, basically. I mean, we can go down, but I think on a high level, this is fine.
You just made me think about something. The fact that we air condition our homes, then we turn on the heater, we bath hot water so we don't feel cold in the cold air condition. And then when we walk out of the house, we say it's too hot, so we quickly rush into our cars and turn on the AC. When really what we want is just that.
Yeah. So my question to the person is, how cold do you feel? I mean, considering your location. So when you go to the Western world, during winter, the heaters are on. During summer, your ACs, you see, so they embed it in their ecosystem. They embed it in their design. But if you come to Ghana, how cool is it? I don't need it. I getting it. So if you are a realtor and you are putting up maybe an apartment, right? Maybe some high-rise building of about 10, 20 floors. Tricks that we need to subscribe to, because there are industry codes, there are building codes, internationally accepted codes, right?
And we'll further explore that.
Exactly. We'll go deep into. Yeah. So we'll go deep into that. Thank you.
All right, Nana Kofi. You supported thousands of smallholder farmers through cooperatives. How can similar cooperative models be adapted for communities to collectively invest in renewable-powered real estate projects? You can tell us that in 3 minutes.
Okay, so about that, I would say that with the farmer cooperatives, we mostly do it as in trust, because where you don't have that, like as in trust. So what we do is, because of the nature of, like as in Ghana's system, we do only have 2 seasons. That's the dry season and then also the wet season. So we do actually give them portable energy storages where you can just pick it up. You take it to your farm, you use it, and then you come home. And then also we try to also group them based on their location and also their farm proximity. And then we design a system that's actually feasible to their farm. And they just use it. All that they have to do is just do contributions. And then because in the group, you see they can just achieve it in a quantum volume than just an individual person, because it will become as in a burden to the person, the system, and they can just share as in the wiring, and it can actually cut costs and also reduce as in the burdens on them. And then if you try that particular model, you can just just replicate it among other homeowners across as in the regions in the country, and it will work. Mostly here in Accra, because of the development and as in the building, it becomes more of a challenge. But if you go into as in the rural areas, good. Yeah, it is very easy to just do it in the rural areas comparatively to Accra, because of as in the planning issues and things like that. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Last question for you before we open the floor for 3 questions. And Reverend, this is something very close to my heart. With your media influence and vast communication platforms, how can we use storytelling, which is core to who we are as Africans, and public engagement to increase community adoption of solar tech in both urban and rural real estate? And I especially like how he ended, putting emphasis on the communal value and how we can reduce cost by coming together and cooperating together.
Yeah, so with my deep media engagement and knowledge, I believe that perception can either cripple innovation or enhance innovation. And when people are still thinking that, let's say, solar belongs to the rich or the affluent, the moment you mention solar, hey, I can't afford it. Oh. But we start from somewhere. You can start with one battery. You can start with 2 batteries. And the next, like he was saying earlier, and then you upgrade. But if you take yourself out, that is my fear. Many people are taking themselves wonder. And I noticed and I was informed that before you are given a permit to build, you must sign that you will build a minimum of 4 trees on your compound. So, and we have all been traveling. We see these innovations. We see this green life. So I think if we also adopt some of these things, they're going to help us. 10 years from now, if we don't save our green life, everything will become light, no green. And then we have that we should adopt to working with the state. We can use the information systems network. We have a Ministry of Information, and they have all these broadcast vans that go to the communities. We can bring community together. And the community panel that can be shared. And there are many countries, many companies now that are offering pre-financed solar panels. They give you a number of years to pay. I know one personally in Ghana. They will pre-finance it for you and give you time to patient to improve our renewable energy. We should be using the wind to improve our renewable energy. And so once we have a unit in the Ministry of Energy that is solely for renewable energy. I'm yet to know exactly what they are doing, because we will be building houses in Ghana. In 10 years, we will not even adopt any renewable energy. We need funding that will help us. I can go into energy. I registered an energy company about 5 years ago. I haven't done zilch. I don't have the money to do it. So get me an investor here. Yes, let's do something, and tomorrow our children will come and thank us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I've heard the importance for lobbying, strong policies, so engaging government on strong policies, storytelling and sensitization, pre-financing models, collaboration, affordability, definitely very important, and supporting the women. I need 3 questions from the floor and we wrap up. 3 pertinent questions. Anybody? No questions? Or we can follow up after the conference. Okay, 1 question here. Any other questions? 2 over there. Number 3 and we're done. So far I've seen 2 men. Where are my ladies? Madam MC, is your hand up? Or yeah, just... All right, we only have 2 questions. Let's go. First one.
Okay, my question. I think a lot of time when you hear discussion, there is great ideas, there is potential for solutions and everything. But my question is,
and most people, if you bear me out, who have in various homes lack the technicians who conduct the maintenance work. Most of them are oftentimes broken. And these are aspects of the cost that most of the time we overlook. And I think when we are deliberate in resolving those aspects, we will be intentional about reducing the cost. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Doc, you touch on it, and then you talk about it.
Okay. The first question, taking leadership on innovative ideas and make sure that globally we lead. One of the key areas, or the first thing I would say, is policy. And you know why? Policy drives intentionality. Policy actually brings expected end. Why is it so? I reviewed the reports by the government of UAE. As of 2013, they decided that they want to lead the world in future things. Anything, the common next.
Said they want to lead AI as well.
Exactly. UAE has built a centralized renewable energy plant. There is a municipality in Dubai called Sonapur. Sonapur is like a rural community, and that plant is supposed to trickle down to community transformation. So they now build a plant that will supply fishing harbors, that will supply cooking centers and all the restaurants and hotels and all that. If we put a particular policy approach that Ghana in the next 10 years or 20 years ahead of us, we are building new cities, new integrated renewable energy supplied cities. We can do it because I think last year when President Mahama was engaging the media, our brother Bernard Avle from CTFM asked a specific question. If Accra, we are facing a lot of troubles on flood and energy sustainability, does it mean that we should do the new? By the time we realize we have built new cities where renewable energy supply has become the order of the day. And that is one of them. And secondly, I also believe in policy communication. We must engage industry professionals. One of the things I've seen in the industry is that the private sector is sitting somewhere and the government is sitting somewhere. I've seen one of our renowned gentlemen in the room, the people's COD, Kwesi Otin Desmond. And why do I cite COD in this? My brother COD is one of the, let me say, authorities in the real estate industry. The young people follow him a lot, and also the elites in the industry also follow him. These are the people that we can bring to the table of discussion. What do you think the private sector can do? This is the agenda of the country. How can we bring people around? And other countries that we see them do, it doesn't go beyond any of these things that we've mentioned. When the state takes leadership,